shirt. Too sexy for my shirt, so sexy it hurts. And I am too sexy for Milan, too sexy for Milan, New York and Japan.
Hey, welcome back everybody to this week's edition of Doing It with Styles. And today I have a very special guest. She is an entrepreneur, a world traveler, and is exciting as hell, has a great story. And I'd like you all to welcome Alicia Sheber. Hi.
Hello. Hi, John.
Okay, now for the sake of transparency, we've known each other 12, 13, 14 years at least.
Much longer than that.
Okay, long time.
Over 20 years.
Really? Has it been that long?
It has been that long.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, the early
22,
2000s.
23. Yeah,
Holy
years.
crap, I'm
Yeah.
getting old.
Me too.
Okay, so when I first met you, you were working for an interior designer.
That's right.
And that's how we met. Guys were working on a project for us. And then you had a dream of attending a design school in Paris.
Well, I knew I wanted to design hotels internationally.
Okay.
But I had to prove that I was an internationally minded person. So I found a French university with an international program. Ended up getting an MBA in international marketing and luxury branding there. But I specifically put all of my attention onto interior design projects.
Right.
Everything I did was about the hotel industry to kind
But and they were mostly big commercial projects, hotels and things like
hotels,
that.
restaurants, bars,
Yeah.
spas. Yes.
And yeah, some of the stuff that you worked on is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I know over the period of time you sent me pictures and, magazine articles and stuff like that. And so did you enjoy doing that? Was that something that you really, I mean, we all think, oh, I want to do this. And then when you start doing it, you go, wait a minute.
Oh, it was fun. I've always been, my buzzword personally has been multicultural.
Yeah.
I just love learning about other cultures and their creative expressions and being able to bring that, make the hotel experience be something of an experiential immersion,
Right.
not just a pastiche of a culture, but actually bring authenticity into the environment so it becomes part of a holiday, not just somewhere you sleep.
And wasn't your mom a French teacher?
My mom was a French and Latin teacher. My father was an architect.
Wait, French and Latin?
Yes.
I didn't know about the Latin part.
Yes. She taught
Cool.
both. So, so she gave me, she'd always tell me the Latin root of words. And as a kid, I was like, oh, Mom. But now I'm so grateful because now I'm a writer and I write about design and architecture. Right. So that really helped, shape my love of language.
And how did you make that transition from designer to a writer?
Well, I was fortunate enough to meet somebody when I moved from Paris to London. So I got my work permit was sponsored to work as a design studio in London. And I met someone who had a PR firm who did PR marketing for architects and designers. And she needed some temporary help and I helped out for a little bit and it worked out really well. And she sponsored my work permit. And I stayed there for 9 years and got to work on some of the hotels like the Savoy in London, Four Seasons Park Lane, Sheraton Grand Park Lane, with some of the world's top designers. There's so many more projects, but from a PR and marketing perspective. So
was it fun?
Very fun. Yes, absolutely.
And then from there, you actually started your own business, did you not?
Just shortly before the pandemic.
Okay.
I went.
That's always fun.
It was.
Hey, I'm going to start a new business. Oh my God, everybody's dying.
Yeah, it was. It was tough, but I've stuck it out, and it's been a success. So that's great. I started my own company called Red Thread.
Red Thread,
which is
but that's READ, right?
My website is READ-THREAD.com. But I like to say I work with creative nonlinear thinkers. So I help
creative nonlinear thinkers,
people with imaginations, and I help them put logic to their thoughts. So I'm a ghostwriter.
I know a lot of people that need some logic put to their thought, but that's okay. Go ahead.
Thank goodness, though. Yeah. I think we all have different talents and skills. So everyone's got something to offer and contribute. So yeah.
But it seems to me from watching you that you really enjoy what you're doing.
I do.
And
I
that
have
you're
a
having
zest for
fun?
life. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I never want to stop learning or growing, and meeting
So
new
do you
people.
have one person that you've interviewed or met with that you thought, this is the best interview I've ever done? This is like, if I don't ever get to do anything else, this is something I can show.
Well, yes, I think like my design hero growing up is Philippe Stark, and I've been lucky enough to interview him twice, so
Wow.
and he is like one of the most um, important designers alive today. He designed the first boutique hotel in New York with Ian Schrager, and from Studio 54, up until his, Juicy Sarif, his product designs. And I interviewed him about the space shuttle that he's currently designing for a corporate space travel, and asking him, how do you design a space shuttle for an experience that you can't actually physically experience?
Yeah.
How do you know what the people are going to need? So people are fascinating. Just like you like to interview people, I like to interview people and kind of help share their stories, but also not just famous people, but people who are underrepresented, and they have something really valuable to share with the world, but maybe they don't know how to do it. Or ideas of cultural conservation. People who creatives who they're arts that are in danger of being lost, and how can those come back to in a modern context become relevant for today, so that we don't lose our cultural identity, but yet still not be inclusive, or
Right.
not be I don't know, tunnel minded, or
Right.
be open to other people, but yet still respect our unique individuality of all of us. So,
And there's some amazingly talented people out there,
absolutely.
and that just for one reason or another aren't able to use that talent, or don't have an avenue to express that talent, or get the word out about the talent that they've got. And it seems to me that that's basically what you're doing, is helping these people,
Well,
give them an avenue to showcase their talent.
I love that. And I think especially I love working with non-native English speakers, because we, as born as native English speakers, that's such a huge advantage that we have.
Yeah.
And in a world that operates using English. So I love working with people who we stumble through the language barriers, use Google Translate or whatever, but I can help them share their words. It's so important to share their quotes and their opinions. It's not my thoughts on their
Right.
work. It's their messages, and use their words so that they get a voice, and I can help amplify their voice.
Without using names, do you have oh my God, I hope I never have to interview this person again?
Oh, you know what? I know, actually. I think there are some people who have big egos, I would say.
Yeah.
Or who just think that they're automatically better than you. Because I've interviewed a lot of high profile people, and 99% of the time they're down to earth, they're lovely people. But everyone has something valuable to say,
Yeah.
and I treat my work with integrity and respect, and respect that they have some knowledge to give, and I like it when people give that back to me.
Yeah.
So I'm helping them. I'm helping them, convey a message, whether I'm working as a journalist or as a ghostwriter or a copywriter.
So, if I remember correctly, you either have or are getting ready to start an online magazine.
Oh, it's a dream. I would love for that to be a reality. I can't say for sure. I don't know.
But it's a goal.
It's a goal. It's a goal.
Okay.
Today
Something
is
to work towards.
It's the new year, and I think we've got it. You got it. I always say shoot for the top, and everything else along the way is probably bound to be pretty good.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. It would be great. I'm also in the British Guild of Travel Writers, and we're about to hopefully change our name to British Guild of Travel Media, because so many people who are part of our group are video makers,
Right.
filmmakers, all different kinds of podcast people, So I think there are so many different ways to communicate and help share stories. And so I would love, when I travel, I love to find the real people that go to the second tier, third tier cities, not just the top cities, but
Yeah.
get to dig into a culture and find the people who are doing really interesting things and help, learn about that and share that with the world.
And there's a lot of them out there.
So
I
many.
mean, I found it's just, and I agree with you. 99% of the people that you might call famous have been very, very nice. And it's the ones that aren't yet but want to be that are the assholes. You know?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think most people there. I have to remember at the end of the day, they're just people too.
Yeah.
They brush their teeth, they go to bed, they get up in the morning, they do just the same things we do. So they're just ordinary people, and people that have just been lucky or have an extraordinary talent,
Right.
and it's been recognized. And there are so many talented people who haven't been recognized, and that's, so. I love meeting those people,
So, and you've had a great adventure. I mean, you were born here in the U.S.
Yes.
Right, and you're from Denver.
I moved around a lot.
Okay.
So my dad was an architect, kind of went where the cities were growing.
Right.
So between Illinois and Florida, Orlando, and I loved the Disney experience there. My dad designed 2 projects for Disney. One was a drug dog house, and the other was a fireworks storage.
Oh,
so
wow.
not the kind of things you might think of.
Fireworks storage, yeah.
Yeah, but very needed, So and I just love the whole hospitality industry.
Yeah, make sure the air conditioning system is up on that.
Very good, yeah. And so then when I moved to Denver, and I was actually going to be my bachelor's degree is in religion, and I was actually going to become a social worker was my goal. But then I was working with mentally disabled people as a vocational counselor, and I took the test that we gave to the people who were there.
Right.
Myself, because it was just a standardized test, and everything pointed towards interior design. Like, this is what you should be putting your energies into. This is how my mind works,
Right.
So, and I had been in counseling, and my therapist had told me, you know what, Alicia, you just need to have fun in life. And I was like, what sounds like fun? So I went to design school at night, and during the daytime, I got a job as the office manager of a wine shop. And I, through the course of that, got to learn about wine. And eventually I worked in design during the daytime and worked at a design shop at night, or wine shop at night. And then I got to meet you, so during.
Yeah, you worked on a project for us. And that was fun. I enjoyed that. And I did enjoy what I was doing at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, for most of you know that I've been in construction most of my life.
Yeah.
And for the last few years, it's just, I love the bringing together a group of people that you don't know, have never met, and you create something.
Yeah.
And you all work together doing what you do best to come up with a finished product. And I drive around town here and I go, oh, wow, I remember when we built that. I remember when we built that, and that. And I remember so-and-so that, and so that, it's not an egotistical thing. It's just that, it brings back memories, and it's just something that I've cherished.
I loved working with you because you were always fun to work with, You're serious, obviously, very professional.
Well, yeah, there's a job to do, and
but you made it fun,
and that has always
Yeah.
been my. What did I tell you before we sat down for the interview?
I don't know.
Have fun.
Yeah,
Right.
Right.
And that's it. I've always said, when it stops being fun, stop doing it.
Right.
And it's like we spend, as Americans, we spend a lot of our lives working.
Yeah.
Right. And that's our major focus. So why not make it fun?
Exactly.
Still get the job done, and still, make sure that you stay within the parameters there, but you can have fun.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you have a room full of people that are having a good time, chances are the finished product that they're working on is going to be better than if you got a room full of people that are,
Right. Absolutely. If you have open communication and trust, this isn't going to work, but what about this instead?
Yep.
And being open to each other's ideas, you get a much better product.
And that's the key right there, and not getting into that ego thing where, well, this is my idea and I'm not going to listen to you, because they just might have a good point. And, like I had told you earlier, that one designer that I worked with, architect designer, and the color scheme that he wanted to put on this building. And I was just going, no way. And after it was finished and I could then see the vision that he had in his head.
Right.
And it was like, oh, okay.
It works.
Maybe I'm not as smart as I thought I was.
Well, we all have our different skills. I'm sure you know a lot more about these, construction technologies and processes than a lot of interior architects know.
Yeah.
Some of
Well,
them,
and
but you're the expert.
that's the key. It's like, yeah, it works great on paper.
Right,
But when
right.
you get out in the field, here's the reality of what you have drawn.
Right.
And not that it's like most architects are really pretty good to work with. You just find those that, like you say, they think they're smarter than everybody else. And, I'm the architect, what I say goes. And sometimes you have to say, okay, we'll do it your way.
Right.
And then when it fails, it's your fault. So,
Just get it in writing.
yeah.
Wow.
So what, you're here in the US, you had a nephew that just got married,
My nephew
right?
got married on New Year's Eve in Las Vegas at the Little White Chapel to lovely wife Claudia. So it was an honor to get to be back in the States for their wedding. And yeah.
Well, it was a great excuse for us to catch up too.
Absolutely. It's been so long. Last
I
time I
know.
saw you was when you were visiting me in England. So
Yeah.
So
And that was, I loved it. I
Yeah.
loved that trip. That was, it's just, there was so much there that the history of the world and the things that we learned in school, and to actually be there and see, Warwick Castle, and here's where, Winston Churchill stayed when he was a young boy, and, things like that it makes it real. And,
Right.
when you're in school and you're a kid and you're learning this stuff and you go, yeah, but that's how we progress. That's where we came from. That's our heritage,
Yeah.
So yeah, and in this country, it's like, okay, well, that's a couple years old. Let's tear it down and build something else. Especially in this town. This town's great at doing that. So
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of I have a lot of friends who are architects who specialize in historic renovations and
right.
being very sensitive. It's the attention to detail is everything. You've got to working with the historical councils
Right.
to make sure everything is accurate representation.
Yeah.
Or if a bit of molding is broken, you've got to replicate it exactly so it blends in, looks the original way. But it's fun being surrounded by such beautiful historical styles.
So what's your favorite part about living in the UK?
Getting to meet people from all over the world just as a normal course of life,
Right.
where you work with them, they're part of your friend group. You just, it's not like you have to go to a cultural center in order to have an experience of this other way of a sense of art or whatever,
Right.
this other traditions, it's just so woven into everyday life. And I love meeting people from other cultures and other ways of thinking and other spiritualities, other ways of, of
living.
being present.
Yeah.
And,
Well, and
making sense of the world.
And I mean, you're just an hour away by train
Yes.
to the Europe and
Exactly. Well, I mean, even I live in London South End Satellite Airport, where I live.
Right.
Taxi from my house to being on the plane is 30 minutes, and then there are all these direct flights to all over Europe and even Morocco. So it's great to be so connected, because going to another state is like going to another country is like going to another state.
Right. Well, and people in Europe, my opinion, send your cards and letter to WWDBTV. People in Europe are smarter than we are. They take their vacations.
Well, that is a good.
They they don't try to kill themselves at their job, because if you're working in a job and if you croak, they're going to have you replaced within a week, right?
Yeah.
But your family's not going to be able to replace you.
No, family.
That was one of the things that I liked when I was visiting there, was that enjoyment of life.
Definitely.
The little things that people did and do there, and that we need to learn more of.
Well, I think like the Sunday roast down at the pub with your family and friends. It's like a weekly tradition that you may or may not do, but it's a lot of people often do.
Right.
or, of course, it's all revolves around pub life. Go to the pub after work. I was shocked when I first moved there. And people went to lunch at the pub and they had a beer with lunch. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
I can do that? But then
Only the
I can't really do that.
in this country. Yeah.
No, the afternoon is shot enough
Yeah.
for working. But I was surprised that actually still existed. That people would do that. But having time off to refresh and renew is so important.
Well, and another thing was pubs.
Yeah.
It's like when you see them in the movies and on TV and stuff. It's like my opinion was, well, a pub is that's a local neighborhood bar, and it is kind of, but it's more of a community center that I mean, it's not just you got food there, and
right.
there's a pub is, that word takes in so much.
I mean, a lot of them are very family friendly places.
Yeah.
Where kids are as welcome as adults.
Yeah.
And there might be, Skittles is a British little game, like kind of it's just like little tiny games that you might play, and they're
Right.
not just a pool table or a snooker table.
Right.
And it's a very much, as you say, a community gathering place. So versus like bar culture and people do distinguish between it being a bar and a pub.
Well, and I remember when I was there, and we had gone to this one pub. It was really crowded, and it was someplace that you guys, you and Paul, had wanted to go and see. And we got there, and it was really crowded. And I forget whether it was you or Paul that said, "Well, why don't we go down the street to that geezer bar?"
Right. Yeah.
And I'm thinking, wait a minute. I know I'm old, but good God, because
I just said, no, wait.
in this,
it's not an insult.
Yeah, in this country, geezer means you're an old fart,
Right.
But in England, that's just a regular guy.
It's
It's
like a diamond geezer is Cockney for someone who's like your best solid mate who's never gonna mess you about.
Yeah.
He's a good solid guy. You're a diamond geezer.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, diamonds are lucky,
that's
right?
really.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, have you seen the show Ted Lasso?
I love it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a great show. And I loved I loved the English influence in the show.
Yes.
And I mean, so you live there. Do you feel like it was a good representation of how it was?
Yeah, I mean, like the neighborhood where he lived is
Yeah.
more like a southwest. I mean, different areas definitely have their own
Sure.
personality, and it was definitely a representative of, I think it was Richmond area or something
Right.
around there,
Yeah.
of that kind of neighborhood. Just the quirky little independent shops and cafes, and by the river. It's for sure, and the whole sporting culture as well.
Yeah.
I'm an Arsenal fan personally, but I mean,
okay. I'm Manchester United.
Oh, okay. Well,
And there is a reason for that.
Why?
Because some years ago, one of their top players, you may or may not know, was named Nobby Stiles.
Yes, absolutely.
And so when I found that out years ago, I used to tell everybody he was my uncle.
And you got a free drink at the pub every time, right?
And so, in fact, when I was there, when I was coming home, I stopped in the airport and got myself one of the Manchester United shirts,
Yeah.
So, but anyway, that's the only reason. And then I went to my niece and nephew. That's who I was staying with there. We went to the races. They had a racetrack, and it was a dirt track. And they had, I mean, it wasn't anything like Daytona, where they just go round and round and round. I mean, they got the figure eights, and they got the, the jump cars, and, the little midget racers and all that stuff. I enjoyed the hell out of that.
Yeah.
So, and it was funny because there's like three cars coming around this turn, and there was a car in front of them and kind of got turned sideways. And so they're all coming around this turn, and they're all three up against this car and just pushing them down the track. They didn't stop for nothing, man. They just kept going.
Wow.
And it made it exciting, going to the, just going around the circle. Big deal.
Yeah.
That's no fun.
No. I'll tell you somewhere really cool that I went in March was the Isle of Man. It's this place that, like, you think, UK is 4 countries. But no, there's this other little country in the Irish Sea that is its own unique independent country, but it's the world. So
See, I didn't know that. I
it's-
mean, I'm familiar with the Isle of Man. I mean, I've heard of it and everything, but I didn't know it was a
it
different
is such
country.
a fascinating place, and it's and they are proudly independent and technically not. They're not part of the UK. They're not part of the EU. They're as the world's oldest, longest running parliament.
Really?
And it was never conquered by Rome in Roman times. So
You say it never was?
never was. So
Yeah.
the Celtic culture is still very strong there. Like the mythology and everything is just
Right.
woven into it. And it's home to the TT races, which is one of the, if not the most dangerous motorcycle race in the world. So
Wow.
you're talking about racing around. Like
I have to go see that
sadly,
now.
people often die doing this race. But
Oh,
like
wow.
it goes through the town, and they shut off all the streets, so people just stand in their front yard. They have parties and they cheer on the racers as they go around, and
Oh, that would be so cool.
and it's UNESCO biosphere. So I mean, it's got the mountains, it's got the beaches, and it's a like a it's the place where you don't pay in taxes. What's it called?
Duty free?
No, it's like a tax haven.
Oh, tax
It's
haven,
a
yeah.
tax haven.
Gotcha.
So, and it's really involved in the gaming industry. Has a lot of people. It attracts a lot of people from the gaming industry. So there's a lot of wealthy people there. But surprisingly, there are no luxury hotels. And someone I really want to interview is the director of the Isle of Man. And I'm working on placing this interview about why there are no hotel brands essentially there. There are some independent boutiques, but they are just so fiercely independent that they don't want to have.
The big chains
It
in
has
there.
to be
Right.
the right partnership,
Right.
So,
Well, that's cool.
yeah, it's just such a
Okay, so I
fascinating
gotta go
place.
there too. That's on my bucket list
Yeah,
again.
absolutely. So,
So.
yeah, great place.
So did you find it hard making the transition from moving from the US to, Europe, well, the UK? Well, no, you went to France first, didn't you, Lyon?
I did. No, I went to Paris.
Paris first, right,
Yes. So I studied in Paris and then didn't want to leave Europe. And luckily, was sponsored for a job in London. So at first, it was mostly just very exciting. However, in the design industry, aesthetic senses are much
Right.
different in Europe than they are in the US.
Yeah,
And for me, even just finding the right suppliers, like to know how I got a vision in my head, or but how do I find the people who make that kind of product? So thanks to the internet wasn't what it is today.
Right.
At that point. That was like in 2005, so, or 2007, I should say. So there just were, there wasn't so much Instagram or anything like that.
Yeah, no kidding.
To get inspiration as much from. So it might be easier for a designer moving across today than it would have been when I did it. So that was.
Yeah, well, back then it was
challenge.
all magazines and, like books that you got, from different suppliers and
Right,
things
but
like that.
nothing, no catalogs online or anything like that.
Or you went to, what was it, Hill Point in North Carolina, South Carolina?
Oh, right.
High Point?
High Point.
High Point,
That's
yeah.
a residential market
Right.
mostly, yeah. But there's, HD in Vegas here,
Right, yeah.
Hospitality Design Magazine, which
Yep.
I've written for quite several articles for them.
What was the name of the magazine that you told me earlier? The wallpaper.
Oh yeah, I'm very excited.
Yeah.
My dream publication to write for wallpaper, and
And you got 2 articles in
I'm
that.
very
didn't you?
happy to have had 2 articles.
Yeah.
One is been doing a lot of editing for a Ukrainian publisher, creative publishing Ukraine, about arts, people from all different creative venues,
Right.
whether it's a chef or textile makers or furniture makers, but using the traditional crafts of old and using them in modern ways. So I was able to write an article about those books and highlighting some of the artists and creative people from those books. And then my second article in a similar topic is called a book that just came out called Crafted Kinship. And it's about people from the Caribbean diaspora who are, looking at the arts of their ancestors and then
Right.
again, making either whether Afrofuturism pop art or art made from combs with hair in it, and things that's looking back at things that represent their historical
culture, yeah.
cultures, and then
Cool.
expressing things in new ways. So
Well, I got to tell you, I'm very, very proud of you.
thank you.
And I have been. I know.
I'm proud of you, John. You've achieved this.
I
This is
know
great.
that the when you first started talking about doing this, and I mean, here you were a young woman all by yourself, and just jumping out there to go for your dream, and the courage that had to have taken, and the uncertainties about, and you did it anyway, and you just said, "This is my dream. I'm going to go do it," and you did it.
Oh,
And I mean, I've stalked you on Facebook. We keep in touch, and
we will. We do.
and I've
Yeah.
seen you progress along, and it's just like, and every time you used to post pictures of you and your friends, and in Paris and in England, you're out here and all that, and it was just always like, "Go, girl,"
Yeah.
just awesome.
I'm really sad that my parents died really young in their late
Yeah.
50s, and for me, like they never got to enjoy their retirement.
Do you think, and this may be a difficult question for you to answer, but do you think if your parents hadn't passed away, do you think that you still would have done what you've done?
No, because I wouldn't have been able to afford it financially,
Yeah.
and didn't inherit a ton of money, but I inherited enough to.
Right.
I realized I had a real opportunity to just totally change my life and pursue my dreams and live the dreams that they would have enjoyed living.
Yes.
So they went on trips to Europe. They took us on a family trip to Europe when I was in high school and with my grandparents, and they ignited this love of travel and
Right.
this love of other cultures and this love of art and design. So I told my mom when she was dying that I feel like I'm a really good cookie. I'm the best bits of both my parents made into one. So
yeah, I think traveling is important, and it's too bad that more of us don't do more of that. I mean, I've been lucky enough to have the opportunity to, go to different parts of the world, and some of it was because I was in the military,
too. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Japan and Hong Kong and England and Mexico and different places that we're all the same.
Absolutely.
We really are. We think that we're different, but we're not.
We all have tender hearts. We have emotions.
Yep.
We love hopefully we love our families or our chosen families.
Right.
And
we just want what's best for our families. And I think that if we did more traveling, the world would be a better place. And I think that's one of the things that I think about Europeans is they are lucky enough to be exposed to all of the different cultures.
Yeah.
Because I mean, think about all of the different cultures in that
it's
geographical area.
They have to get along.
Yeah.
In order to maintain the peace.
Right.
But and it's just so easy to cross the border. So
right.
It's just a part of life that you interact with
people. Is it still the traveling back and forth through the different countries is still pretty easy, or since the Brexit, has it made it more difficult? Or
I mean, I'm sad, very sad about Brexit, but you can still go visit. The hard part is, you can't stay somewhere longer than 6 months. So, it would be great to dream of retiring to southern France one day.
The UK has always been that way, right? I mean, you can only stay there for 6 months before you have to.
Well, before Brexit, during when we were part of the EU, you could go back and forth between any EU country for as long work there as long as you want, or if you were to buy a property in another country that was a member of the EU, you could stay there and have residency there.
Okay. But you can't do that now, huh?
Sadly, no. So
right,
there are residency programs, But I'm telling people who want to, go have a foreign experience for the next 4 years or so.
Yeah.
Go get your master's in photography.
I mean, how is the tourist industry in the UK? I mean, are they welcoming of tourists or?
Oh, hugely, yeah. I mean, it's I mean, tourism is a very large part of the UK economy.
Cool.
You know, with a lot of sports, tourism, music.
I'm hoping to
tourism.
contribute some of that next year. So,
Please,
well, I
please
mean,
do.
this coming year. Yeah.
2025. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I just, like I say, my trip there, I fell in love. It was just, there's something magical about the whole place. And I mean, the history and just the neat little towns and the villages and, that we don't really have here.
There's a phrase like a chocolate box village.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the thatched huts, the thatched roofs. I mean, cobblestone streets, just picture perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we're kind of running out of time. Is there anything that you want to let people know before we wrap this up, or?
Well, if you're interested in working with me on a writing project, I
How can we get a hold of you?
I would love to help. Help people. Would love to help tell your story. So, my website is read-thread.com, redthread.com, and my email address is on the website. So, for sure, yeah.
Cool. So I'm gonna have to go check it out. I didn't know you had the website yet. So
yes.
Cool.
Yeah. Great.
All right.
All right.
Hey.
Thanks for having me,
No,
John.
thank you so much.
It's
It's
such
so
a good
nice to
friend.
see. Let's not make it so long next
No,
time.
absolutely not.
Now it's my turn, right?
All right.
Okay.
Next time I'm going to interview you.
All right. Hey, guys, and I want to thank you for tuning in, and I want to thank you for supporting the show and the station and all the other shows that we have on here. And don't forget, this Saturday, 9 a.m., down at Barnes & Noble, I'll be doing the book signing, and I want you all to come down and check it out.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you wrote a book. Did you?
No, but I go down there every Saturday, and if you go to Barnes & Noble and you buy a book and you stop by my table, any book in the store, and I'll sign it for you.
Oh.
So remember, everybody, if you're going to do it with styles.
Nice work, John.